Welcome, everyone, to the Wednesday Wellness Debrief. My name is Brittany, and I am your host, and I'm joined by my lovely, lovely guest, and she helped me pronounce it. So it's LeNesha. So we're going to get it right. I'm very excited that she's here today. I'm thrilled to have you. Welcome, LeNesha. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
I'm honored for you to be here. And this is a conversation between two instructors about wellness and how basically wellness impacts the physical and all the other parts of wellness. So before we get started into your journey as a fitness instructor, we want to know, who is LeNesha the person? So let's get started. Who is LeNesha?
Oh, that's interesting because I have a lot of different qualities that sometimes people wouldn't group together. But I am a person who grew up in a military environment. So one of the things that I really cherish is embracing diversity. I also am a mother of 3 kids. I have a 21-year, well, he'll be 21 in May. I have a daughter who just turned 18, and then I have a 10-year-old. My oldest son does have a special need, so that was a unique experience raising my first child. I learned a lot. So I'm very aware of that part of diversity too, with that inclusion crowd. And I'm also a wife. I've been married. It'll be 19 years in June, and I married a soldier. So I grew up in a military environment, and I was an adult in a military environment as well. I love dancing. I love music, all types of music. I love making people laugh. I'm very silly, jokester, and I just like having good energy and making other people happy. And I also like history. So I'm a full-time college student. I graduate in May. Very excited about that, but I really love history. Yeah.
You graduated in May. Congratulations. What are you graduating with?
So I have a bachelor in interdisciplinary studies. So my majors are communication studies and history. And I'm also a personal trainer. I forgot to mention that, but I was really interested in the nutrition aspect, seeing if I wanted to go there a little bit deeper. So my minor is food and science nutrition.
Oh
But
my
in the
goodness.
future, that's why I said I have a lot of qualities. In the future, I hope to get experience working in a museum as a curator, oral history, like interviewing people, and possibly researching. So I'm not really taking the approach of teaching. I'm going the other way with history.
Okay. And you did send me the clips of the interesting of the wellness of people back in the golden age of movies, which is very fascinating because now we look at it now, especially like The Wizard of Oz and all them and Casablanca and all those actors
For
who
sure.
who've gone to the upper room, unfortunately, and kind of seeing their journey up to, oh my goodness, if that happened today, that would have been a huge mental health issue.
And if it does happen, you never know. It might happen in a different way.
That is very true. And tying that all in a tiny bow of this multifaceted human being that is sitting with me. You've earned multiple certifications. You've earned your Aqua Exercise Association. You are a personal trainer through NASM, and you're an AFAA group fitness instructor.
Correct.
So you have the accolades. That is for sure. So with all these accolades and all these things that you want to do, what inspired you to pursue a career in fitness?
Okay. So before I was a fitness instructor, I worked in early childhood education. So I worked for the military. I was a pre-K teacher, and I got in that field because of my oldest son. I was clueless being a first-time parent, let alone with a child who had a special need. So it was challenging. I experienced so many emotions, and I just wanted to learn to be the best mother I can for him. So I got a degree in early childhood education, working with the kids. And I was going to say, ironically, when I was at work, one of my coworkers invited me to an event. It was a Zumba event, breast cancer, Party in Pink in October. And prior to that, a couple months, I went on a cruise and they had like a salsa class, those little.
Oh yeah, though.
And I was struggling. I couldn't do a basic front and back salsa or right and left. I was like, I can't get this. And so when she invited me to the event, I said, girl, no, I could not do that salsa. And she was like, you should just come. It's so much fun. I'm like, I can't do it. So I went, and of course, the energy is through the roof because you have different instructors teaching, people from all over, the colors, pink and black. It was just a really amazing experience, and I never experienced anything like that. And from then I was hooked. So I started going to classes. It was 5 instructors who taught. We lived in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And I would go to all their classes, and I noticed how everybody had a different style. And eventually I became a front row diva. And if you
as one does,
you don't know what that is a student that's in the front row. They don't care about people looking at them. They're also the backup for the teacher. So if other people are new in the back, they're looking at the front row diva. If the teacher if the instructor forgets the choreography, they look at the front row diva. And so I became that. And one of the instructors, she encouraged me to become an instructor. And I was like, girl, no, again. I was like, I cannot do that. And the only reason I went to do it was because it was a group of students that went to do it. So I was like, okay, I'll go with you guys. And from there, it just took off. And eventually that became my full-time job.
Hey, transitioning careers. That's awesome. And in your career, it sounds like you started one way and then you just ended up here. Have you ever faced self-doubt in your journey to becoming in the fitness field?
Absolutely. One thing that I really struggled with being a Zoom instructor was feeling like you're not good enough or trying to be a perfectionist or not really understanding what an instructor was, because it's a big transition from a student to an instructor. A student, you just go, you feel the music, you let go of your problems, and you just have a good time. An instructor, that's part of it as well, but you are responsible for so many people in that class and for delivering something so they can follow along. And you get people who might struggle with coordination, they might not have the ability, things like that. And you still have to remember what's coming up, and you have to cue, and you got to do all this stuff. So in the beginning, I just thought like, I got to be the best dancer. Dancing the whole time, not engaging with people, just like I didn't mess up any choreography, I killed it. And I had to realize like, no, ma'am, that is not what this is. And I kind of realized that just watching other instructors. And of course, I took the pro skills training with Zumba. That really helped me out a lot. And so it just transitioned my mind. But in the beginning, it was just a lot of self-doubt. I'm like, am I good enough? Did I mess up? Did I do all of this? Of course, I experienced this being a jammer as well. Yes. When I first became a jammer, it took me like months to finally realize like you do deserve this position. You are good at what you do. Yeah.
And to overcome that, do you feel as though you had any tools or techniques that helped you overcome it, or was it just doing it over time and just kind of feeling more confident as time went on?
I think it was a couple of things. I think it was the feedback I was getting from Zen members and people returning to my jam sessions, also posting on social media the feedback, just surprising myself with my creativity and making things flow, me getting the education and implementing it in my choreography and in the jam sessions, and a lot of self-reflection, self-love, self-help type books, things like that.
If there's one book that you feel as though that really helped you, what would be that one book?
Ooh, let's see. There are a couple. I can't remember the exact name. I know one is called Positive Intelligence. And it's basically talking about in your brain, we have mind patterns and they're called saboteurs. And basically they're tricking your brain to think that it's a friend, but it's really sabotaging you. And there's them, and you take an assessment and it basically tells you which one are your highest saboteurs. And it tells you the characteristics of it, the lies that it's telling your brain, where it could stem from. And then they give you like little tips and things to try to overcome it. But I just thought that was good awareness because it talks about how these mind patterns develop when you're young. And it's doing that, even though if you come from a great environment, it's still doing it because your body's in survival mode. And so you don't really need them when you get older, but because it's a pattern, it's stuck in there.
You're so used to just doing it over and over, and it's something you're used to. I'm like, I'd rather stick with what I'm used to than try something new at that point in time.
One of my highest ones was the restless mind pattern. And that basically is you are always looking for the next best thing. And you're always achieving something else and thinking, oh, if I do this, it'll be better. And, stuff like that. So books like that, books about like manifesting and really creating your own reality, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Well, honestly, it sounds like I may have the restless one as well. So I may have to take a look at that.
But bunch. They have restless, they have the avoider, they have the controller, they have the stickler, the pleaser. Like, it's a good book. Positive Intelligence. I can't remember the guy's name. It starts with the R, but.
Ooh, okay. Check that out. So from your journey to building a passionate community, as you said during one of the questions, so some of the comments that were left on your page, your instructor page, one was, LeNesha makes you forget you're exercising. Her classes are pure joy. And the second comment, I've never felt more confident in my body than after joining her sessions.
Oh, wow.
So my researcher found that. So following those comments, how do you create a sense of community in your classes?
The first thing I do is I make everyone feel welcome, and I make it a priority to learn everyone's name. I have a really good memory. That's why I'm an instructor, because I can remember the choreography. So I make sure I remember their name. If I can't remember the first time, I will connect with them on social media to help me. I always try to make a connection when I'm looking at them. Like, okay, how am I going to remember this? And then I always try to make a personal connection by talking to people before my class or after, asking them about something, remembering something they told me from the last conversation, saying their name. I think that really helps. Like, all right, see you later, and say their name. And I think it makes them feel more comfortable. And I really believe that everyone, no matter what background you come from, no matter what gender, no matter what, we all have something in common. Like, you literally can go get an oil change and somebody in that room you have something in common with. You just have to take that initial approach to try to talk to them and things like that. So I just feel like everybody should be welcomed. Everybody should be treated the same. And I think that's why people like coming to my class, because they don't feel out of place or anything like that.
Yeah. In fitness, as you said earlier, as an attendee, you're just there. But as an instructor, you notice the different types of people, different lives, just differences. And you want to accept everybody that comes into your class because it's a rainbow. You want the rainbow in your class.
If I have someone who said, oh, I really like sewing and I couldn't come or whatever, and then I have somebody else who likes sewing, then I kind of like link them together. Like, I pay attention to stuff like that.
And that helps build the community of we have a lot more in common than we do.
Have developed friendships in my class because like they just came and they just started coming, but then they start forming their smaller groups just from like the interaction and the talking and stuff like that.
What makes water-based fitness unique compared to other types of workouts from your experience?
I believe aquatics or aqua fitness is different because it feels different. It's another type of resistance and it's not intimidating. Like, the gym can be very intimidating to people, just seeing all the equipment, seeing the people who look like they're so in shape and things like that. But the pool is really for everyone. And I find that teaching those classes, a lot of my participants are older, active people. And I just feel like they have really great energy. They're very loyal and they are an inspiration for me because we don't know what cards we're going to get dealt in life. You could try to be healthy your whole life and then you can end up with cancer. These people, they can range from 40 to 80 years old. They can have hip replacements, joint issues, and they're still not giving up. So I really like that environment. It's very welcoming and it's just inspirational to see them. And I hope that if I reach their age, that I'm still able to be active like that.
Yeah. And that's something I learned in the Aqua Zumba training of how integral, especially for people with joint issues, pregnancy,
all that stuff. Yeah.
Just like it's safe in the water and that resistance helps build all of those things. And that's really important. So continuing with our aqua on strength and endurance in every single splash that is had, Basically, from the studies that have been done on aqua Zumba participants, the water resistance forces your muscles to work harder, which means enhanced strength and toning, especially in your core, legs, and arms, improve cardiovascular health as your heart works harder to pump oxygen through your body, and increase endurance over time, which I don't think a lot of people realize. Building that endurance over time helps with every activities of everyday living.
For sure.
But research shows that water-based exercise improve aerobic capacity by up to 20% in just 8 weeks, which is huge. How do you address participants' mental and emotional well-being during your classes?
I think I kind of do a similar approach. Are you talking about my aquatic classes?
Yes.
Yeah, I talk to them all the time. Before class, I get there a little bit early so I can have some conversations with them, ask them what's going on. They really feel comfortable telling me stuff, like especially if they have medical issues or if they haven't been to class, they're like, hey, I didn't come because of this and da da da. And I don't expect them to, but I think they just feel really comfortable. And because they're older, active, sometimes people are stuck in this is the persona I need to have because I'm an older person. But I feel like my personality takes them back to feeling young and having a good time. And I do that.
I remember you did that during the Zen Jam. That was like, oh, yes, I like this energy.
I don't make them feel like they're older. I'm doing this, I'm dancing, I'm watching them, like we're having a great time.
And that ties into building community as well.
Yes.
That's really integral to focus on the physical and the mental and the emotional. When they're here to party with the instructor and to not necessarily think of what it like the bad thing that happened at work or the family member that may have gotten on your nerves. You never know that you help alleviate that.
My vision is you're going to forget about whatever you're thinking about during this class time. We're going to have a good time and this is going to be your safe space.
And that's really important to keep the community going. And that goes into low impact solutions for all ages. Speaking of the different age ranges that you do work with, how do you approach designing a class that caters to such diverse group fitness levels? Because that's the big question for a lot of instructors.
It is. So I think that my prior experience has helped me learn how to modify very well, and my education of knowing what muscle groups are working, what exercise goes with what muscle group. I am really good at modifying really quick. I worked at the YMCA. I worked at a private club where the students range from 60 to 90 years old. I taught a class with a chair. I worked for military soldiers who were injured in combat. So I work with different participants and I'm really good at showing the modification. So when I come out with a workout plan, I try to make sure we get a full body. I try to make sure we have times where we can rest. And then I also come up with my modifications before I go. Like it's natural now that I can be like, oh, okay, you can do this instead. And I really encourage people to modify. So I think they feel more comfortable. So it's not just one person modifying. I'll have like 4 or 5. And then they start looking at each other like, okay, we got this. We're going to do this together.
That's great. And I think kind of tying it back to when you're first starting your journey, where you're like, I have to be the best dancer. I have to do this. And I think you're kind of thinking of how am I putting on the best class and kind of focusing on self. And sometimes you have to focus on like, okay, who's out there and who am I working with, which takes time to do.
Definitely have to be observant. And I really think that that's just one of my natural qualities because I'm a Cancer.
Yeah. So you just have that nurturing spirit I'm an astrology girly. So yes, you have the nurturing, like, ooh, and then adding the water aerobics. Yeah, that's very appropriate. So moving on from helping people in the aquatic spaces to building a purposeful career. Editor will work on that. Building a purposeful career. For you, I guess from instructor, being an instructor isn't just about teaching a class. It's about inspiring and transforming the participants that walk in and having them feel a different way when they walk out. How do you measure success in your role as a fitness instructor?
The feedback from people, the joy that I see them having from attending my class. I really want people to have a safe space. And this could go back to like my childhood, or I don't know where it would stem from, but just feeling like you're good enough. Something that I struggled with as a child. I did not feel like I was good enough. And so I really hated that feeling, and I don't want anyone else to feel like that. So, it's really hard to make friends as an adult because people have ulterior motives. You know how the world is, they could be using you and things like that. So it's hard coming into an environment with a lot of adults and you don't know anyone. So I definitely try to create that safe space for them. And when I see the groups forming of friendships and things like that, that makes me happy. It gives me a lot of joy.
And honestly, that is when they come together. And ironically, when you see, like, you follow some of the participants on social media and you see them hanging out together after class, and they're like, I live in Orlando, like they went, some of the people, one of the gyms I used to teach at, like, they went to Disney together and they had a good time. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
And it just came from that. I had a client or a participant, Miss Michelle, and she's probably in her 60s. And she came to me and she says, LeNesha, I really want to do this polar plunge. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of that. Is that when they get into the really cold water and everything?
Like New Year's Day, it's like starting a new year.
Yes.
Into the water. And so we live next to Tybee Island, which is in Savannah. And she was like, I really want to do it, but I couldn't think of nobody to do it with but you. And I was like, me? Like, girl, I have no best friend, no cold water. I don't like the ocean like that. So, but I took it upon myself to ask people in the class. And this was after the pandemic. So it was like, it wasn't a lot of people coming. It was like, you got to sign up for classes and things like that. So I asked people, and we had a group of like 15 people. We went to the beach. We all carpooled together. And from that day, groups have formed and people have serious friendships with other people just from us doing that one thing. Before, they were not talking to each other in class. They would just come and leave and things like that. So stuff like that, I love seeing that.
Oh my god. And it is inspiring, and kind of building that community. And just like, are you going to be doing another polar plunge in this?
During that polar plunge, the weather was like 65 degrees outside.
Okay.
I was like, this is my last chance.
So, from building a community and measuring your success as an instructor to how do you stay motivated as an instructor and keep learning? Because it can feel overwhelming from time to time, and it can impact your mental health.
Oh, for sure. So right now I'm on a break. I took a break off from teaching this month. I was like, I just need a break. And I'm like, I really can't give anybody my energy right now. I'm really focused on school and things like that. And so, I told my coordinator, and they're very understanding. They replaced my classes temporarily, but you definitely have to take time for yourself. You have to take time for yourself. And like I said, the breaks help, because when you do it all the time, sometimes it's like routine and robotic and it just doesn't seem fun anymore. And just taking the break, like the absence, you just want to come back. And of course, always having or coming back with new content. Your students don't like it. They don't like when you change it, but I'm like, I need to switch this up.
You're like, I know you're used to it and you feel comfortable, but I was like, I need something for my brain. I need something for my brain.
Oh, at the beginning of this year, I told them, because I was off of school for December, I said, all right, when I come back, all new choreo, every class. I shouldn't have did that, because that was a crazy expectation, but I did do it for Zumba. I teach Zumba and mixed fit and a cardio strength class. And they were looking at me crazy, like, why did you do this to us? I was like, you get it just like you got it the first time you came to my class. But I like switching it up, taking breaks. Trying to see what else. I don't know, just kind of getting back to why I originally started. You can never forget that.
Yeah. And as an instructor, I get it. Especially in school, I understand where like your brain, I call it the highway, your highway is focused on something else. And so you can't fully give to something that you genuinely love, which is fitness. But I'm just like, my brain is somewhere else. And I don't want to rob my participants of not being fully present. So I'd rather just remove myself and put someone to give them that opportunity than to like she's like, oh, she's not present. And your participants can tell when you're not
They
present.
definitely can. And then I can see their energy. So then I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because they're not saying nothing. They're barely dancing. I'm like, do y'all want to be here? And it's like, it'd be like, okay, are you giving energy? Like, what's going on? So it is a lot. So if you got to take a break, take a break.
Yeah, I've had to learn that the hard way, honestly, where it's like, if you don't take a break, your mind and body will tell you when to take a break,
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
You might even injure yourself.
And it may be an injury you may not be able to mentally or physically recover. And then that just takes it away from you. And that's something really hard, especially for me as I'm getting older and wiser. I'm just like, I don't bounce back as quickly. And so it's just like, oh, no, we need to take these breaks because we don't bounce back as quickly as we used to in our early to mid 20s. That's not how that works. Yeah. It's not how that works. How has being an Aqua Zumba instructor shaped your own understanding of health and fitness?
It definitely opened my eyes because prior to doing Aqua Zumba, I didn't know anything about aquatics. I literally was like, girl, no. I became an instructor because I went to someone's class. Her name was Ina Bayam. She's from Panama, but she lived in Missouri. And I was trying to get my husband to try Zumba. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And I said, well, they have it in the pool. Nobody will see you. So we went and I had the best time. Didn't know anything about aquatics, but I told myself, I'm going to be an Aqua Zumba instructor. Went to the training, was so lost.
Oh, no.
That I have no idea what he's talking about. Richard was my
okay.
And he was like, show me how to do a salsa two-step in the water. I said, I don't know. I was like, I can't help you. I was lost for the next 6 months. Didn't know anything. So it definitely opened my eyes as to there's not just one way to do fitness. You could do it another way. And then I learned a little bit of science behind the principles and things like that. And of course, being exposed to different participants, the older community, because regular Zumba, I was getting people like around my age or younger. I wasn't getting the older. So that opened my eyes as well as to, oh, these people need fitness too. And this format will work for them. And, I need to be there for them too. I can't just pick, oh, I'm going to be for these people because we're more similar. Yeah. So.
Expanding your horizons as an instructor.
Oh, yeah. That helped me a lot.
So building a purpose with your career to balancing passion with professionalism, how do you cultivate self-care and avoid burnout in such a demanding field? And you already talked about going on breaks. Is there any other way that you give yourself self-care, like spending time with family, reading books,
Yes, I do. So I really care about my health a lot. Just being exposed to fitness, it's taught me a lot. And I realized that a lot of people just don't know the information. So they're kind of ignorant to like what we should be doing in things. And I really care about myself. And I understand that nobody else is going to take care of me but me. So I do the things for my body. I will go get stretched. I go to the chiropractor. I go get massages. I do things like getting my nails done or my hair. I do spend time with my kids a lot. We have a lot of fun watching movies. I love watching black and white movies. I always make time for myself. And something that helped me learn this was a pandemic, actually. Prior to the pandemic, I never spent time alone. I'm an extrovert, never did it. I was stressed out, being secluded from the world. It really bothered me. But the positive thing that came out of it was I finally got a chance to experience peace. It felt like. I didn't know what that felt like. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, both parents in the military, have 3 kids, husband in the military. Like, it's always catering to other people. But during the pandemic, all that time off, it just made me realize, like, this is amazing. And it's okay to be by yourself. Prior to the pandemic, I would not go eat out by myself. I would not go to the movies by myself. Now I can do that. And so I saw the importance of you have to be there for you too, because if not, you can't give other people the energy. So.
Yeah. And on adding that you're a Cancer. So Cancers are so giving and they're so loving and you want to support everybody.
Yes.
And give that care. But sometimes you pour from the bucket, but you don't have enough to pour from the bucket.
Exactly.
And so then you're just like, well, no one's pouring into me. What happened? Why do I feel so tired? But you give out of genuine care and love because you love everybody and you just want to see everybody happy.
I know, I do. It's a blessing and a curse.
It is a blessing and a curse, but I think I'm happy, not happy with the pandemic, but I'm happy during that pandemic, it helps you kind of
Oh yeah.
realign, like, okay, so I need to be doing a little bit more for myself so I can be able to pour into other people's cups, which
Yeah.
is really important. And then we transition to our final question. What's your ultimate goal for your career in the next decade?
Well, the next decade, I really I wanted to have my own facility, like my own studio. My personal training business is called Positive Change Fitness. And I named it that because I wanted people to know that it's never too late to make a positive change. Life is hard. We all have to cope with it one way. And people use many avenues. They use unhealthy things. They use healthy things. They use drugs. They use religion. They use fitness, all that stuff. So I really want to take that to the next level and have my own studio in my community and just be a space for people to come and just have a positive environment because it's hard to find that nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, people are on the defense. They're not socially involved anymore. Like, I remember growing up, you would go to the store and you just have random conversation with somebody just waiting in line. Like, that doesn't happen now. People have their guard up and they're like, what are you trying to do to me? Like, so I just want to create a positive space. I would love that. I would also love to get into researching. I'm not exactly sure what topic, but I don't know. I kind of just found out that they have like food historians also. So I don't,
Ooh.
there was a show I had to watch on Netflix. I can't remember. One was called Cooked, and then the other one, it was talking about how African Americans have contributed to food in the United States.
I saw that documentary. I saw that one. That was really
We
good.
have like different episodes, and like I had to watch one on like Louisiana, one on like growing gardens and like the cities and stuff like that. So I saw that last summer and I was like, that's interesting. But I'm really big on learning about people's background and stuff like that. So I don't know, oral history as well. I like what you're doing.
Yeah. And but the little bit of information you gave me, and like it seems like history is a big love of yours. It seems
Yeah.
like you diving into the weeds of, well, I understand what's on the surface, but let's dive into exactly
Yeah.
what is going on.
Why did people respond this way? What was the group think at the time? Like, what was the majority and stuff like that? So I just think that it's very fascinating, very fascinating. And I do believe that history repeats itself.
Yes, my mother's an educator, and she's very much, if you do not learn your history, you are doomed to repeat it. So you are very correct on that.
For sure. I really wish that they had a time machine because I would go back like in a heartbeat. To different times, I will go back. My daughter thinks I'm crazy, but I'm like, if we could just go back to the past. And I would just observe and like, oh, that's why I watch movies from a long time ago because I'm observing like the fashion. I'm observing the jokes, the values, the morals. Like, I'm like, okay. I see why they did this and why they did that. Yeah.
It's a time capsule,
Yes,
honestly.
that is because it really shows even print from that time. Like I had a class called Historical Methods where we had to learn how to research and the teacher just gave us free range and she was like, all right, from 1945 to 1960, you're going to write a 15-page paper about anything. And there was 12 of us in the class and we all had a different topic because so much was going on during that time. And we got to use primary sources like Life magazine, Time magazine from that time period. And it was just crazy. The advertisements just, oh my God, I could be in the library for hours.
Libraries are quiet, and there's like it's an array of books. Again, the child of a teacher, like being like around books, it's comforting. I don't know what it is. It's
Yeah,
just there's a sense of comfort when you're around the books.
for
To say.
sure.
Well, Miss LeNesha, I appreciate you for being the first guest on the podcast. If you want to, I'll drop the links down below if you want to tell to people where they can find you.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I have a lot of pages. I'm really trying to figure out the social media. So for my older crew who like the Facebook, my name is LeNesha Cunningham, LeNesha Cunningham. I also have another page. I share more of my personal on there, but I can't accept any more friends, but you can follow it. So it's Nesha, Nesha, and then Fit Niche, that's my nickname, Fitnesh, and then Cunningham. That's Facebook. TikTok, I have Positive Change Fitness, and Instagram, I have Positive Change Fitness. That's more of me working out. I show a little bit of my personality on there too. And then for the aquatics, I have ZJ LeNesha on Instagram, ZJLENESHA. So I have a lot of different things.
We'll put all the links to everywhere where you can follow LeNesha, and I want to thank her again and all the amazing advice and conversation we had today. And I cannot wait to take another Aqua Jam with you in the future.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing. I love your formatting, the questions. Like, I really think people are going to get a lot of information for this. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.